Hello and welcome. In today's video, we'll look at some barriers to effective listening. In the last video, we looked at the process of listening. Listening is an integral part of effective communication. Without listening, it would be impossible for the message to be received and understood as intended by the speaker. So if we are to become good listeners, so it is important to not only be familiar, but also do what it matters in order to take care of uh, some of these barriers. The first kind of barrier to listening is the external noise. So these are the physical barriers that affect our hearing stage, the first stage in the listening process. So when other noises they are competing with the message, then it will be difficult for us as a listener to focus or to receive the message itself. So the next type of barrier to effective listening is prejudgment. So in this type of barrier, we have already made up our mind regarding something that we are listening to. So we're not really about to change our perspective or change our viewpoint. But that's not always so. When we are listening, when we are communicating with others, we have to look at things from different perspectives. And if we only focus or if we give importance to only our point of view, then we won't be able to listen or we won't be able to receive the other person's viewpoint. And that would really affect our listening part, because even though sound waves are going through our ears and we could understand it, but we're not really listening to it because we don't want to accept what the other person has to say. So it's very important that we keep an open mind when we are listening. Oftentimes, you may catch yourself doing this when you're, for example, in a meeting and a person may be sharing so many things, but because you have made up your mind regarding something, that you really are not really listening to the other person, even though you may be hearing it. Next barrier to effective listening is selfishness. So here we are only concerned about what we have to say rather than what other person is saying. So, for example, you're listening to you are in a discussion, and another person is talking, and so you are in, for example, in a meeting, and there's a discussion going on, and you're only interested in basically conveying your message and not really listening to what other people have to say. So that can also affect your communication, making the communication ineffective. So selfishness, again, having open mind is always good, and also respecting other people's point of view, what other people has to say, and then after listening to it, we can make our judgment about it. But if we are just focused on what we have to say, saying like the thing that I have to say is more important than what other people have to say, then that could affect our communication and our listening part as well, because we won't be able to listen to what other people have to say because we're so much focused on our own thoughts going through our mind. Next is selective listening, and this is a very common barrier to effective listening. We are only focused on basically what we want to listen to. A speaker may be talking about 10 different things, but we only listen to this one thing. All right, that most probably aligns with what we think or what we believe, and we don't even focus on the other things that a speaker might be saying. And this is very common, actually. The last barrier to effective listening is internal noise. So, internal noise are thoughts, feelings that are kind of occupying our mind when we are listening to someone. Here we are distracted. Maybe some emotions are strong, something happened, and we are just focusing on that emotion, and we're not really giving our attention to the message uh, to what the other person is saying. All right, so this is the internal noise, the thoughts, the feelings that we are so much engrossed on. Um, Sometimes it is unavoidable, so maybe we can take a break and then maybe talk to the other person when our emotions are checked or we feel like uh, we are we are relaxed enough to continue with the conversation. Otherwise, it will not be. It's not easy when we are governed by strong emotions and listen to something really important. So those are the few barriers to effective listening.